In the glamorous city of Paris, where streetlights blend with the grandeur of skyscrapers, Lucas Hart was a name known to all. He was a top interior designer, renowned for his creative works and meticulous attention to detail. The spaces Lucas created were not just beautiful, they told intricate stories about the lifestyles of the elite. Yet behind that fame lay an emptiness Lucas kept hidden. His luxurious apartment, perched on the top floor of a modern high-rise, featured large glass windows offering a panoramic view of glittering Paris. But for Lucas, it was not just a living space. It was a gilded cage that trapped him in solitude. Each night he stood by the window, holding a glass of wine, his empty gaze fixed on the bustling traffic below. He would ask himself, "What have I lost on this journey to success?" Lucas had everything others dreamed of: a solid career, admiration from colleagues, and a lavish lifestyle. Yet deep down, there was a void that neither material wealth nor professional triumphs could fill. Sometimes, amidst the applause and accolades, he found himself yearning for the past, when life was simpler and his heart beat faster for someone special. One late evening, after a meeting with a client, Lucas drove home through streets that seemed to sink into silence, illuminated only by the golden glow of streetlights. Soft music from the car speakers was his attempt to ward off the weariness of the day. When the traffic light turned red, he stopped, his gaze wandering aimlessly across the scene outside. Then suddenly, he froze. A woman was struggling with several large bags, her movements slow and unsteady as she tried to balance them. Lucas frowned, a strange sense of familiarity stirring within him. Suddenly, the woman clutched her stomach, as if trying to brace herself against a wave of pain. Then she collapsed. Without hesitation, Lucas opened the car door and stepped out. He hurried across the quiet street, his heart pounding. As he approached, he felt a chill run through him. Despite her frail and haggard appearance, Lucas recognized her instantly. It was Elena Morgan, his first love. "Elena!" he called out, his voice trembling with shock. Elena looked up at him, her tired eyes filled with a faint glimmer of surprise. Her lips moved as if to speak, but she lost consciousness before she could utter a word. Lucas quickly knelt down, gently supporting her fragile body. He could feel her faint breath and cold hands, as if they had endured endless days of hardship. Looking down, his eyes stopped at Elena's abdomen, clearly showing signs of pregnancy. A mix of worry and sorrow swept over Lucas. He lifted her up, feeling a weight that was more than physical. He was carrying a part of his past, heavy with unanswered questions. "We're going to the hospital right away," he said, as though making a solemn vow to himself. Under the dim golden glow of the city lights, Lucas carefully placed Elena in the car, his mind racing with a flurry of questions. He didn't know why Elena was there, why she had fallen into such a state, or why fate had brought them together at this moment. But the one thing he knew with certainty was that he could not leave her alone any longer. Thus began Lucas and Elena's journey anew, under the city streetlights, where old questions and new secrets were about to unfold. Welcome to Soul Stories. Today we bring you a heartwarming tale. Let us know which city you're tuning in from around the world. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to catch more meaningful stories. Chapter 1. The Reunion. In the cold stillness of a Parisian night, Lucas Hart drove hurriedly to the hospital. Elena Morgan, the woman he had once loved more than anything, lay unconscious in the back seat, her face pale and her breath shallow. Memories of her flooded his mind, making it hard for him to focus on the road ahead. When he reached the hospital, Lucas immediately called for help. Medical staff rushed Elena into the emergency room, leaving Lucas standing in the hallway, his mind swirling with worry and regret. He sank into a chair in the waiting area, his gaze fixed on the closed door of the operating room. Time seemed to slow, each second dragging on unbearably. Finally, a doctor emerged. Lucas jumped to his feet, his voice trembling. "How is she, doctor?" "She's out of danger," the doctor replied. "She's malnourished and exhausted, but the baby's unharmed. However, she'll need rest and specialized care in the coming weeks." Lucas let out a sigh of relief, but guilt weighed heavily in his chest. How had Elena, once so vibrant and full of life, ended up like this? He blamed himself for not keeping in touch after they parted ways, leaving her to bear everything alone. When Elena regained consciousness, her eyes met Lucas's. For a moment, surprise and conflicting emotions flashed across her face. She tried to sit up, but Lucas quickly stopped her. "Elena, don't push yourself. You need to rest," he said softly. "Lucas," she murmured, her voice weak but still carrying a hint of defiance. "What are you doing here?" "I found you," he replied. "You collapsed in the street. Do you think I could just walk away?" Elena turned her face toward the window, her expression guarded. "I don't need your pity." "This isn't pity," Lucas said, his frustration evident. "Elena, I just want to help. I need to know what happened." At first, Elena remained silent, as if debating whether to share the truth. Finally, she let out a sigh, her gaze softening, and began to speak. After leaving Lucas, she had tried to rebuild her life. A job at a small company had provided stability for a while, but when the company downsized, Elena was among the first to be let go. Unable to find new work, she quickly ran out of savings and could no longer afford her rent. Unwilling to return home in defeat, she chose to live in her car, clinging to the hope that things would eventually improve. But her hopes gradually faded as every opportunity seemed to slip away. She survived on meager meals and tried to hide her circumstances from her old acquaintances. When she discovered she was pregnant, she felt both joy and fear. The baby became her motivation to keep going, but it also made her life even harder. Lucas listened in silence, each word from Elena cutting deep into his heart. He felt a sense of responsibility, even though no one had asked this of him. Elena had once been his entire world, and now she was enduring all this alone. "I don't need your help, Lucas," Elena said, her eyes locking with his as if daring him to argue. "But you need a safe place," Lucas countered immediately. "You can't go back to living in your car. I won't let that happen. You need rest, and so does the baby." Elena wanted to refuse, but she knew she no longer had the strength to fight. Reluctantly, she nodded, and Lucas took her back to his apartment. Lucas's apartment, a place Elena had once imagined as cold and impersonal, was now rearranged to welcome her. He prepared a separate room for her, complete with a soft bed, warm lighting, and even a small potted plant by the window. Lucas carefully stocked the kitchen with light meals and nutritious drinks for her. Yet Elena remained distant. Each time Lucas tried to engage her in conversation, she responded with caution or silence. The pain of their past still lingered, like an invisible wall keeping them apart. One morning, as Lucas brought breakfast to Elena, he hesitated for a moment outside her door before knocking. When he entered, he found her sitting by the window, her gaze distant as she looked out at the bustling city below. "Elena," Lucas said gently, placing the tray on the table, "I know you might not be ready, but I really want to help. I don't want you to feel alone anymore." Elena turned to look at him, her expression softening slightly. "Lucas, I'm not sure we can ever go back to what we were, but I do appreciate what you're doing." Lucas nodded, sensing a flicker of hope. The path ahead was still long and fraught with challenges, but he was determined to prove that he wasn't just a successful man. He was someone who could offer safety and love to Elena and her child. There was still much left unsaid, many wounds left to heal. But in the soft morning light of Paris, a new chance seemed to be quietly unfolding, full of promise and hope. Chapter 2, Memories and Reconnection. The soft morning sunlight streamed through the windows, warming Lucas's apartment and softening its cold edges. After days of rest, Elena looked healthier, though she still carried an air of reserve. One quiet morning, as they sat at a small table with cups of tea in hand, old memories resurfaced through a simple question from Lucas. "Do you remember the first time we met?" he asked, his voice gentle but tinged with a hint of nervousness. Elena glanced up, her eyes meeting his. A faint smile played on her lips. "How could I forget? A young man desperately trying to convince an art teacher that his sketches were truly worth something." Lucas chuckled softly, a laugh filled with nostalgia. He remembered those days vividly when he was just beginning his journey into the world of design. He had met Elena at an art exhibition she organized for her students. To him, Elena was not only beautiful, but also brimming with passion, her eyes sparkling as she spoke about art. "You were the only one who believed I could do it," Lucas said, his smile fading into a look of seriousness. "If it weren't for you, I might have given up long ago." Elena lowered her gaze to the teacup in her hands. Back then, I saw someone with real ambition. I couldn't help but support you." They sat in silence for a moment, letting their shared memories rise to the surface. They had once lived in a small apartment, cramped but filled with countless memories. Lucas, then an ambitious young designer, would spend nights at his desk, tirelessly working on sketches to impress clients. "Do you remember that time you worked for 48 hours straight and forgot to eat?" Elena laughed, breaking the silence. "I had to drag you away from your desk and force-feed you a bowl of cold noodles." Lucas joined her laughter. "I remember, and I also remember you threatening to throw all my sketches in the trash if I collapsed from exhaustion." They laughed together, the familiarity of those past years briefly bridging the gap that had grown between them. Those were challenging days, but they had each other. Elena would often bring old materials from her classroom for Lucas to use in his prototypes. Evenings were spent sharing simple meals, laughing over Lucas's clumsy kitchen mishaps. They didn't have much, but it always seemed enough. But things began to change when Lucas achieved his first big success. A major client recognized his talent, and his career started to take off. The endless meetings, bigger projects, and a demanding schedule created a growing distance between him and Elena. "At first I tried to understand," Elena said, her gaze distant as she recalled those days. "I thought if I waited long enough, things would get better. But then, the canceled dates, the broken promises, I felt like I was becoming invisible in your life." Lucas remained silent, a heavy sense of guilt weighing on him. "I was so caught up in my career that I forgot the most important thing." Elena smiled, though there was a touch of bitterness in it. "Lucas, I don't blame you, but back then, I had to leave to save myself." Their conversation trailed off into silence, both of them lost in thought. But this time, Lucas wasn't going to let Elena leave. As days passed, Lucas worked to show Elena that he wasn't helping her out of a sense of duty. He began with the smallest gestures. One morning, Elena woke to find Lucas fumbling in the kitchen. Smoke rose from a pan, and he held a spoon with a tense expression. "Lucas, what are you doing?" Elena asked, half surprised, half amused. "Breakfast," he replied, turning to her with a sheepish smile, his face smudged with flour. "I'm learning to cook. You need proper meals." Elena stepped forward, gently taking the spoon from his hand. "Let me help, but next time, turn on the vent before you set the kitchen on fire." They both laughed, the sound breaking down the barriers between them. Lucas also began accompanying Elena to her prenatal appointments. He sat beside her, listening carefully to the doctor's advice and taking meticulous notes. After each visit, he would stop by a store to pick up essentials for the baby. "You seem more excited about preparing for the baby than I am," Elena teased one day when Lucas enthusiastically picked out a few extra blankets. "I just want everything to be perfect," Lucas replied, his eyes soft with sincerity. Gradually, Elena began to sense the genuine effort in Lucas's actions. The wounds of the past, though not fully healed, started to fade under the warmth of his small but meaningful gestures. One late evening, as they sat together in the living room under the gentle glow of the lamps, Lucas broke the silence. His voice was low but filled with emotion. "I've made so many mistakes in the past," he said, "but now I want to make things right, not just for you, but for me. I've realized that you are the most important thing I've ever had." Elena looked at him, her eyes searching for the truth in his words. After a moment, she smiled, a soft, warm smile. "Lucas, I don't know what the future holds, but maybe we can start again, one step at a time." Lucas nodded, his heart filling with hope. They didn't need to rush, and they both knew that rebuilding trust would take time and honesty. Under the quiet glow of Paris, a new chapter began for Lucas and Elena, one filled with hope, determination, and the possibility of love reborn. Chapter 3. The Truth Revealed. One quiet evening, the golden glow of the streetlights filtered through the large windows, casting a warm light over Lucas's living room. Elena sat in an armchair by the window, her gaze quietly fixed on the streets of Paris below. Her hand gently rested on her growing belly, her heart heavy with anxiety. Lucas entered from the kitchen carrying 2 cups of steaming tea. He set one down in front of Elena and sat across from her, his eyes filled with concern. "Elena, You seem lost in thought. Is something wrong? Lucas asked, his voice soft but laced with worry. Elena looked up, her eyes reflecting hesitation. Many times she had tried to summon the courage to speak the truth, but each time her resolve faltered. Yet she knew she couldn't keep it to herself forever. Lucas, she began, her voice trembling slightly. There's something I need to tell you. Lucas leaned forward, his expression serious. You can tell me anything, Elena. I'm here to listen. Elena took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. Her heart pounded as she prepared to reveal the truth she had feared for so long. Lucas, the baby, it's yours. Lucas blinked, caught completely off guard by her words. Elena, what are you saying? Are you telling me? Elena nodded, tears welling in her eyes. Yes, I've known for a while now, but I hid it from you because I thought you wouldn't care, or that you wouldn't want to be part of my life anymore. I thought you had left me for good. Lucas sat in silence for a moment, processing the bombshell she had just dropped. He looked at Elena, his gaze a mix of shock and emotion. Elena, why didn't you tell me sooner? I had a right to know. We should have faced this together. Elena lowered her head, her voice breaking. I thought I could handle it on my own. I didn't want to be a burden to you. I was afraid you would reject me. Reject the baby. Lucas shook his head, his heart aching. He stood and walked toward her, kneeling down and taking her hands gently in his. Elena, I have never rejected you. Maybe I made mistakes in the past, but now I know that you and the baby mean everything to me. I won't let you face this alone. Elena looked into his eyes, tears streaming down her face. Lucas, I don't know what to say. I've been scared for so long, but now I believe in you. Lucas squeezed her hands softly, his gaze unwavering. We'll raise this child together, Elena. I want to do this, not out of duty, but because I love you, and I want to make up for what I've missed. Elena smiled through her tears, warmth spreading through her heart. For the first time in years, she felt she wasn't alone. From that night on, a new connection began to form between Lucas and Elena. Without the weight of unspoken truths, they started to rebuild trust and understanding. Lucas devoted more time to caring for Elena, preparing meals, accompanying her to prenatal checkups, and planning for the baby's arrival. He even began reading books about pregnancy and newborn care, wanting to understand what Elena was going through. You don't have to do all this, Elena said one day, watching Lucas struggle to assemble a crib. Lucas looked up, smiling. I want to, not just for you, but for me too. I want to be a part of both your lives. Elena gazed at him, her heart softening. She knew Lucas wasn't just speaking empty words. His actions, however small, reflected a sincerity she hadn't seen before. One evening, as they sat together on the sofa, Lucas suddenly spoke up. Elena, I want to ask you something. What is it? Elena turned to him, curious. Do you think we can start over? Lucas asked, his eyes serious. Elena sat quietly for a moment, reflecting on everything they had been through. Finally, she smiled, a gentle but firm smile. If you're willing to try, then so am I. Lucas nodded, a quiet joy spreading through him. They didn't need to rush, and they knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. But both were determined, knowing that they were no longer just two individuals. They now had a little life waiting for them to create a family together. In the gentle glow of the evening, they sat side by side, feeling that, while the past had left its scars, the future was an open page ready to be filled with a new story. Are you still following the story? If yes, comment pizza. Chapter 4, The Final Challenge. As the final months of Elena's pregnancy approached, she began to grow weaker. She tired easily, her steps were slow, and she often complained of backaches. Lucas paid close attention to every small change, his concern growing with each passing day, as if letting her out of his sight for even a moment might mean missing something crucial. Elena, you should rest more, Lucas reminded her, handing her a soft pillow to make her more comfortable on the sofa. I can't lie down all day, Lucas. I need to move around a little, Elena replied, but her tone softened as she accepted a fresh glass of juice he had prepared for her. The two of them laughed together and the warmth between them grew steadily. Lucas displayed a patience and care that Elena had never seen before. Despite this, she still harbored a small trace of doubt, as if she was afraid to believe that things were truly changing for the better. A sudden turn of events. One night, while Lucas was in his study tweaking a design for a client, he heard Elena's faint voice calling from her room. "Lucas!" The sound made him jump out of his chair immediately. He rushed to her room and found her sitting on the bed, her face contorted in pain. "Are you okay? What's happening?" Lucas asked, his voice filled with worry. I think it's happening," Elena said, clutching her belly, her breathing rapid and uneven. Lucas froze for a moment as panic surged through him. He wasn't the kind of man to lose his composure easily, but this moment left him feeling utterly helpless. "Don't worry, I'm taking you to the hospital right now," he exclaimed. He quickly helped her into a coat, grabbed the hospital bag they had prepared weeks ago, and guided her to the car. During the drive, Lucas tried to maintain his calm, but his hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, and his eyes darted frequently toward Elena. "Are you okay? Just a little longer. We're almost there," he reassured her, his voice trembling. The long wait. At the hospital, nurses and doctors swiftly wheeled Elena into the delivery room. Lucas was left outside, his heart pounding with anxiety. He paced the waiting area incessantly, his eyes glued to the operating room doors. The hours stretched unbearably. Lucas couldn't stop worrying about whether Elena and the baby would be okay. Memories of their shared past played in his mind, joyful moments from their youth, years of separation, and the challenging journey that had brought them here. "Please, just let them be safe," he whispered, a silent prayer escaping his lips. Finally, the doors opened, and a doctor emerged with a gentle smile. "Both mother and baby are safe. She delivered early, but the baby is healthy." Lucas let out a deep sigh of relief, as though a colossal weight had been lifted from his shoulders. "Can I see them?" he asked, his voice shaking with emotion. "We're moving her to a recovery room. You can go in shortly," the doctor replied. Meeting Emma. When Lucas entered the room, he found Elena lying on the bed, exhausted but smiling softly. In her arms was a tiny baby girl, her face flushed and her eyes closed peacefully. "Elena," Lucas whispered as he approached her. She looked up at him, her voice weak but warm. "Lucas, this is Emma." Lucas leaned down to gaze at the baby in Elena's arms. His heart melted as he saw Emma for the first time. The tiny child stirred something profound within him, a newfound sense of responsibility and love. "She's absolutely perfect," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "You did amazing, Elena." Elena smiled, tears streaming down her face. For the first time, she felt a complete sense of safety and trust in Lucas, caring for Elena and Emma. In the days that followed, Lucas devoted himself entirely to caring for Elena and Emma. He woke up in the middle of the night to check on Emma, helped Elena with diaper changes, and took care of even the smallest tasks without complaint. One evening, Elena caught Lucas sitting by Emma's crib, softly singing a lullaby. She stood in the doorway, silently watching, her heart swelling with warmth. "You've changed so much," she said when Lucas turned and saw her there. Lucas smiled and walked toward her. "I know I made mistakes in the past, but now I want to make things right. Not just for you or Emma, but for myself too. I want to be someone both of you can rely on." Elena looked at him, tears glistening in her eyes. "Lucas, I believe in you. I can see that you're truly trying." Planning for the future. As time passed, Elena began to open her heart more. They shared the responsibilities of caring for Emma and spent quiet moments discussing their hopes and plans for the future. One evening, as they sat on the couch while Emma slept peacefully in her crib, Lucas reached for Elena's hand. "I know the past hasn't been easy for us," he said, "but I want us to look forward, to build a life together, a family we can both be proud of." Elena smiled, her heart full of gratitude and hope. "Lucas, we've come so far. I think we can do it, together." They sat there in the gentle glow of the room, knowing that the road ahead might still hold challenges, but feeling confident that they could face them as a family. Chapter 5. A Happy Ending. One quiet afternoon as Emma napped, Lucas and Elena sat together on the sofa, sunlight streaming gently through the window. Lucas took Elena's hand in his gaze steady and filled with determination. Elena, I can't change the past, but I want us to have a better future. I want us to build a real family together, he said. Elena nodded, her eyes reflecting understanding and trust. Lucas, I've seen how hard you've worked every day. I know we still have challenges ahead, but I believe we can overcome them together. Both of them turned their gaze to Emma's crib, where she slept peacefully. She was not just a child, but a symbol of hope, forgiveness, and love. In that moment, Lucas and Elena knew they were ready to start a new chapter, one built on love and commitment, a solid foundation for their small family. 2 years after Emma's birth, life for Lucas and Elena had completely transformed. They moved from a high-rise apartment to a cozy house in the suburbs of Paris, complete with a lush green garden. Though the house wasn't as luxurious as their previous apartment, it was brimming with life, filled with Emma's laughter and cherished family moments. Lucas had learned to balance his career with family life. He often declined unnecessary meetings to spend more time with Elena and Emma. Each morning he prepared a simple breakfast, watching Elena smile and Emma play eagerly with her toys in the dining room. These moments were more precious to Lucas than anything else. With Lucas's support, Elena rekindled her passion for teaching. She opened a small art class at home where neighborhood children could freely explore their creativity. The walls of their house were adorned with her students' artwork, creating a vibrant and inspiring space. One summer day, Lucas suggested a family picnic by the Seine. Elena happily prepared the picnic basket, while Emma, now a lively 2-year-old, ran around excitedly in her pretty little dress, clutching a teddy bear. At the riverside, they picked a quiet spot under a large tree. Lucas spread a blanket on the grass, Elena arranged the food, and Emma played with wildflowers nearby. A gentle breeze carried the sweet scent of summer through the air. After their meal, Lucas suddenly stood, looking at Elena with a deep and thoughtful expression. He walked toward her, taking her hand. Elena, there's something I've wanted to do for a long time, he said, his voice warm but tinged with nervousness. Elena looked at him in surprise. What is it, Lucas? Lucas knelt down and pulled a small box from his pocket. When he opened it, a sparkling ring gleamed in the golden sunlight. I've made many mistakes in the past, but you gave me a chance to make things right. You and Emma mean everything to me. I can't imagine my life without you. Elena Morgan, will you marry me? Elena was speechless. Tears shimmered in her eyes as she nodded, overcome with emotion. Yes, Lucas, I will. Emma, not understanding what was happening, clapped her hands and giggled, making both of them laugh through their tears. Lucas rose, gently slipping the ring onto Elena's finger. He pulled her into his arms while Emma ran circles around them, her laughter echoing across the serene riverside. Lucas and Elena's wedding was a simple but heartfelt celebration. They invited only their closest friends and family, hosting the ceremony in the garden of their home. Elena wore a modest white dress, holding Lucas's hand as they exchanged vows. Emma, dressed in a sweet floral dress, was the adorable flower girl who made everyone smile with her charm. Their life after marriage was filled with simple yet priceless moments. Lucas spent evenings teaching Emma how to draw or reading her bedtime stories. When not busy with her art classes, Elena often cooked family meals, and the three of them would sit together, sharing laughter at the dining table. A year after their wedding, they welcomed another addition to their family, a healthy baby boy they named Leo. Emma, now an enthusiastic older sister, eagerly helped her mother care for her baby brother, bringing even more joy and love to their home. One weekend afternoon, the family gathered in their garden. Lucas and Elena sat on the bench, watching Emma and Leo play on the grass. A soft breeze carried the scent of freshly planted flowers Elena had tended to earlier. Lucas took Elena's hand, his gaze as tender as it had been the day they first met. Thank you for giving me another chance, he said. Elena leaned her head on his shoulder, smiling softly. Thank you for proving that love can overcome any challenge. Their story wasn't perfect, but it was the trials, mistakes, and heartfelt efforts to mend what was broken that made their life so meaningful. In the golden hues of the evening sun, their little family was a testament to true love, a love not built on perfection, but on forgiveness, commitment, and the strength to weather life's storms together. And so, under the fading sunlight, Lucas, Elena, Emma, and Leo came together as the perfect pieces of a beautiful family puzzle, crafting a life filled with love, laughter, and hope. The story of Lucas and Elena delivers a profound lesson about love, forgiveness, and responsibility. It reminds us that no one is perfect, but sincerity, the effort to change, and unwavering commitment can heal any wound. Love is not just a feeling, but an action, putting others before oneself, overcoming past mistakes, and building a future together. Above all, it shows that family is where we find peace, no matter how difficult the past may have been. Thank you for following this story. Please rate it from 1 to 5 stars and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our Soul Stories channel. Your support is the motivation for us to continue bringing more great stories